Now we're going to make some pudding, which is very similar to the creme anglaise that Chef Devlin made earlier. In fact, pudding, creme anglaise, pastry cream, your Bavarian, all of them are very similar in that they have the same ingredients, with the exception of a thickener. Your creme anglaise is very thin because there's no thickener other than the eggs and the sugar in it, whereas your pudding has sugar and cornstarch, which I have here in this bowl, my sugar and my cornstarch, right? And I'm going to put my eggs in there and stir those together. Let's see if I can get that without making a mess out of the table.
Can I ask something, Chef?
Yes, Chef Devlin, go ahead.
What you're basically saying is creme anglaise, an ice cream base, and pudding. And then if you look at souffle base, the ice cream is the thinnest because there's only egg yolks. The anglaise is the same because it's egg yolks.
I'm going to put some milk in my sugar.
And then when you add into the pudding, it's just thickened with a cornstarch. So basically, it's progressively, one is thicker than the other is what you're saying.
Yes, yes, they're all, right? What we're doing, actually, that's a great question, Chef, or great statement, actually. They're cousins, right? They're cousins. They're all milk
Custards.
or cream with sugar and egg to make a custard. And then we've added another thickening ingredient to it to turn it into something else.
Okay.
That's what you're saying?
So basically, if you can make one, you can make them all. And basically what you're saying is, yeah, one is egg yolks, you got to be careful because you can break it. And then others are thickened with cornstarch. And then others are thickened with flour and cornstarch, which is a souffle base. So in essence, really, if you can make one, you can make them all.
If we use the tempering procedure that you saw Chef Devlin do, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, right? You can make all of those sauces or creams or custards. What we're doing is bringing the temperature of the milk and sugar up. Maybe you have cream in here. This is just milk and sugar. We want to bring this up to about 150 degrees, which is a scald. And if you've ever made hot chocolate from milk, you know you've heated up your milk and you get that little skin on the top, right? That happens at 150 degrees. That's a scald. And when we get to that temperature, we can then start adding it to our egg mixture.
Can I say something, Chef?
Yes, sir.
We don't have puddings in Ireland or in Europe. Pudding is an American thing.
Yeah.
But we basically make a custard, which we use thickener, which is basically exactly what you're doing. And we use that for trifles.
Ah, trifles. Any of you ever heard of, oh, hold on. Any of you ever heard of a trifle? Maybe you should go look that up too. Go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want to tell them what a trifle is? Or do we want to make them go research it?
They can go research.
There you go. There you go.
And by the way, what you should do is turn it in as a classroom activity. Have them go online, research trifles, and then download the recipe. And what I would do, chefs, if they do that, have them type it up as a recipe and save it and send it to you for a class grade. That's your classroom activity. But chef, what I would do is, if they ever did that and actually made the recipe, I would bump their grade one letter.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Chef Devlin is willing to trade a research paper for a bump in grade.
Why not? If they're doing the work and they actually make it, why not increase their grade?
Not a bad idea. We'll think about it. For my students, we'll think about it. All right, so my milk is getting hot. It's getting too hot. It's getting too hot there. Let me slow it down. I'm going to put a little bit of my hot milk. Oh, wrong one. A little bit of my hot milk into my egg yolks.
I have a question, Chef.
Yes, sir.
What happens if I add all the hot milk in at once?
I'm going to scramble my egg yolks. And what I'm going to end up with is scrambled eggs floating around in hot milk instead of pudding, right? What I'm doing is slowly raising the temperature of these eggs so they don't cook just yet.
So that's tempering.
Tempering, bringing up the temperature, right? Just like Chef Devlin did with his. And then when I get that mixed in and the temperatures are even, I'm going to put my sugar, egg yolk, and cornstarch mixture back into my pot.
But chef,
And I'm going to start to stir this until it gets thick. Yes, go ahead.
but don't you have to be very careful because when you want the cornstarch thicken up very quick, is that when you're stirring it?
It's thickening up right now. You can see it, right? And it's getting clumpy. I want all of that to get thick, thick, thick. Do you remember when Chef Devlin did his creme anglaise and we talked about nappe consistency? We got that almost immediately with this pudding
Because of the starch.
because of the cornstarch in there. Right?
Chef, you said you brought your milk up to 145
thick.
degrees,
150.
150.
Yep.
I think cornstarch thickens at about that temperature, 160 or 150.
It's thickening right now. Yep. And there we go. Right? And just like Chef Devlin did with his, I'm going to
Well, you're going
strain
to-
it into some ice. Right? I have, oh, thank you. He just showed me the vanilla. I have a little bit of butter and vanilla in the bottom here. The butter is for the mouthfeel, makes it a little bit more velvety. And I'm straining to get any cooked egg yolks, shells, anything I accidentally got in there, or cornstarch lumps.
I have a
But you
question.
see, it's not, sorry, let me go, it's not going down, right? So I'm gonna use my rubber spatula.
Chef,
Yes, sir.
once you put it down in there, you're cooling it on an ice pad.
Yep.
How do you prevent it from getting a skin on top?
When I store this, I'm gonna put plastic on top, which I thought I had a piece of.
Yes, we have it, Chef.
I had a piece. I must have picked it up as trash. Hey, I'm lucky I didn't get any clumps. Right? Skills, baby, skills. So my pudding is in here. And I'm going to stir that up and melt that butter. And cool the pudding down at the same time. All right? And then when I go to store it, I'm stepping on the table. I'm going to put the plastic directly down on top of the pudding so that it doesn't form a skin while it's in the refrigerator.
So, Chef,
Yes, sir.
so that's your pudding.
That's it.
So, how, for example, since they're cousins to creme pâtissière, which is pastry cream that goes into the Eclairs and Napoleons and even tartlet shells,
Right?
how would you make this into that pastry cream?
So,
It-
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, so you've now showed me how to make a pudding, right?
Right.
Okay, and earlier on we did the creme anglaise. So, what is the difference between pastry cream
Oh,
and
I see,
this?
I see. So where we used cornstarch, we would use flour,
Okay,
right? And less of it. Because pastry cream shouldn't be as stiff as pudding.
okay.
So on the graduation, we got creme anglaise, which is thin, pourable, and spreadable. Pastry cream, which is loose but a little bit thick, and then pudding, which is very thick. Did that answer your question?
Okay, yes, it does. So basically, it's the same thing, but you use flour.
Same process,
Basically.
slightly different thickener.
Got it.
Same
thank you.
process. Tempering, kids, tempering.